Hi, I'm going to present my Danielson lesson plan. This one is for third grade, and it's a social studies lesson about understanding landforms, and I put it down as Unit 4. For the content standards, I said that it applies to the third social studies standard, which is students apply geographic knowledge and skills, location, place, human environment, interactions, movement, and regions. The lesson objectives for my lesson is that students will be able to identify various landforms and students will be able to describe landforms. The relationship to the unit structure is this lesson will support unit goals by ensuring that students fully understand what landforms are and what their purpose is. This lesson will build off of a previous lesson that will be taught in sequence and provides different learning styles to accommodate students. The previous lesson will be about Earth's surfaces, mostly tectonic plates. And the next lesson will be supported by this lesson, which regards Earth's landforms, and it'll be a more hands-on activity where we actually build a landform. The materials needed for this course or for this lesson are 19 different landform worksheets, and then 19 types of landform worksheets, and then 19 landform story worksheets. And then we'll be using writing utensil, most likely pencils, whiteboard markers, and erasers. Okay, into instructional strategies. Anticipated student misconceptions include students having difficult time remembering different symbols for landforms. To counter this problem, once we come up with symbols, I will write them on the board and help teach each students a few tricks to remember them. And that's covered in our lesson as well. For concept prerequisites, I have the term landform, symbol, and gesture. And then we'll get into the instructional sequence. So for the anticipatory set, I will inform students what the lesson is and what we'll be going over, discussing what landforms are, natural features of the earth such as mountains and lakes. Students will partner up with their neighbor and list as many landforms as they can. As students discuss the different landforms, they will oversee recording the names of different landforms. So they'll basically have a piece of paper that they write all these down on. And then when we're done, each group will have an opportunity to write a different kind of landform up on the board. So we'll have a pretty comprehensive list of all the landforms and helping. And if we don't get them all, then of course I'll help. I'll then hand out the different landforms worksheet, which looks like this. And it just has the 8 different landforms with the definition so they can match them and also get an idea what they look like. Where was that at? And I'll require students to do this worksheet individually, and it shouldn't take too long. I'll give them 5 minutes. Then we'll review the worksheet as a class and discuss what definitions go with what images. At this time, I'll show students real images from different landforms across the world, volcanoes, lakes, islands. I'll also provide the definitions for each landform again to make sure that students understand. Next, I will pass out the type of landforms worksheet, and we'll discuss what a symbol is and how it relates to landforms. So this worksheet just has the 8 terms all in a column, and then it has the definition in another column, and then in this column we will write down what the symbols are. Let's see, where was I at? And to describe like what a symbol is, my example will be a heart is a symbol of love. Next, I will discuss the definition of a gesture and how it is something that's expressed an idea similar to how we would use a triangle with our hands to make a mountain. So I'd show students this, and then I'd ask them to do the same thing. So put your hands together as a triangle, and there's your mountain. There's a symbol for mountain. Perfect. After that, I will make sure students don't have any questions. If not, we'll move on. And I will divide the students up into groups, and they'll each be assigned a landform. from the type of landforms worksheet that I just showed you. Students will need to define the assigned landform as well as create a symbol and gesture. So what I want students to do is fill in the definition, and I'm going to let them use the different landforms worksheet to help them if they need it, and then create a symbol that they would use. That's easy enough. If you saw it, you would know that's an island or a volcano. And then they also have to make a gesture with their hand. So mountain, I'm not sure what they could do, but let's see. Students will be given 5 minutes to complete the requirements for their landform. Each group will get to present their definition of the assigned landform as well as their drawing their symbol. They'll draw it up on the whiteboard for everybody to see. And then they'll also perform their gesture, and they'll show the entire class, and then the entire class will do it all together. And then once each group is done presenting, I will call out a landform, and as a class, we'll do the gestures together. And once students are finished with that, they'll fill in the remaining types of landforms. So each group would only have to fill in one. So once they're done presenting, they'll have to complete the entire worksheet. Goes there. And for my grouping strategy, in the beginning of the lesson, I mentioned that students would pair up with a neighbor. So just to save time, I'd have them pair up with the person closest to them. Since we do have an odd number of students, there would be a group with 3. And I think I'd just say you guys are the group of 3 instead of letting them choose. And for the last part of the lesson where I group students up, I would use the counting method where your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, and so on. And also be aware that there might be students that don't get along or get really off task when they're paired together. For my differentiation according to student needs, I would be aware of students that finish their independent work promptly, and I would assign them an assignment that requires them to create a Venn diagram of 2 different pairs of landforms. And for students that are struggling with their independent work, I will provide assistance when necessary. For my students that are high energy, I will provide fidget tools to help keep them occupied. For my assessment, formative assessment, I'll be walking around while the students are working in groups and listening to their conversations, making sure they're on task, and observing their definitions and symbols for their landforms. For summative assessment, I will assess students when they present their landform information in front of the class and their symbol and gesture to make sure they really understand what that landform is and reflects. For my reflections for this, I think I would reflect maybe on what I could do to improve this lesson, and if every student has a clear understanding of what a landform is before we move on to creating a hands-on model. And then there's one other worksheet that I would also incorporate. It's just like a little story basically, and then students have a word bank where they can fill in what goes where. But that is my lesson.